What happens when you talk to God daily? Most believers never discover what prayer can actually do, not because they don't believe in it, but because they stop too soon, too often. There's a version of prayer most Christians know, a quick request before a meal, a few sentences before sleep. And while God hears every word, there's a deeper place. And what happens there changes everything. Here's what daily, persistent prayer actually does. First, it breaks through the noise. When you first sit down to pray, your mind fights back. You remember emails, feel restless, get distracted. That's not coincidence, it's resistance. The body and the enemy both know that if they can pull you away early, you'll never go deeper. Push through it. Because on the other side of that resistance, something shifts. You stop praying from your head and start praying from your spirit. Then the atmosphere around you begins to change. Daniel 10 shows us that from the very first day he prayed, heaven responded. Angels were dispatched. The fight required persistence, but the movement had already begun. When you pray consistently, you're not just talking to God, you're building a spiritual environment. Darkness cannot occupy the same space as a life saturated in His presence. Then comes revelation. This is where prayer goes from monologue to conversation. The Holy Spirit begins to surface things, a solution to a problem you've carried for years, a warning, a direction, a verse that anchors your soul exactly when you need it. God doesn't just answer prayer here. He shares His heart. He entrusts you with things that can only be received in stillness. And finally, you carry it with you when you leave. A dry sponge dipped quickly in water only gets wet on the surface, but held underwater, it soaks through. Daily prayer soaks your spirit. When you walk into a room, something has shifted in you. Not arrogance, authority, the quiet kind that comes from spending time with the King. Prayer also builds endurance. Just as a runner can't run a marathon without training, a believer can't sustain spiritual warfare without the strength built in consistent prayer. Every day you show up, you grow in capacity. But maybe the most powerful thing daily prayer does is this. It turns your agenda into His. You stop arriving with only a list. You begin arriving with open hands. And when you start praying for God's will instead of your own comfort, the answers that come back carry a different weight entirely. You don't need a perfect formula. You don't need the right words. You just need to show up consistently, honestly, persistently. Because the person who leaves that place of prayer is never quite the same as the one who entered it.